All right, we are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 7th episode of the Light and Love Transformational Tarot Summit. Today we have Beth Seilonin as a special guest. Did I say that correctly?
Close enough. You're good.
All right. And now, so Beth is a wonderful artist. I think she's an artist in oils, acrylic, and watercolor. Is that correct, Beth?
Yes,
I've
yes.
seen lots of your work. It's fabulous. Love the colors and the energies of your paintings. And something that fascinates me is that you're also a creator of nearly 100 tarot decks. And I
Yes.
think Lenormand decks as well.
Yes, I'm up to about 4 or 5 of those ones.
Wow. Where do you find the time? That's amazing. And are they all self-published?
Not all of them. I do have some that are mass-produced, but just
Amazing.
5 mass-produced, 4 mass-produced tarot decks, and then I've illustrated some tarot books.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. So we'll get more into details on that today. And today, Beth will be presenting Beth will also be presenting an interactive workshop at the 2nd Annual Light and Love Tarot Reading International Festival in Montreal this September. And today she'll be talking to us about the Art of Actualisation. And we also have Juliette with us moderating the chat. So please feel free to interact on the chat. Juliette will make sure to flag all your questions for us for the end Q&A session at the end of Beth's presentation. Hi, Juliette, and thank you for assisting us today. And also, for those who stay until the end of today's presentation, we have a special bonus offer from Tiffany, which includes a 60-minute guided meditation audio on world healing, and also an ebook on how to manifest a miracle a month in just 15 minutes a day. So that's a wonderful bonus bundle from Tiffany that you'll be receiving. And of course, at the end of today's presentation, we have 2 offers. We have a 20% discount valid for the purchase of an event pass for the 2nd Annual Light and Love Tarot Reading Festival in September in Montreal. And also for Tiffany's retreat in Canada, the week following the Tarot Festival in Montreal. She's holding a retreat in Canada, in the Quebec region, not far off from Montreal. She will be offering a free pass for the festival if you purchase a solo occupancy double room for her retreat. So those are today's offers and bonus bundle. And now we can begin. I guess, Beth, we can start talking about how you came about tarot, how that all started for you, and let the viewers understand how you made your way to where you are today.
Okay, so while I was in college, I had this amazing class called semiotics. And semiotics is when you take an image and you break it down to the icons, the signs, the symbols, and what they mean to you within your culture. And I became exceedingly fascinated and started really looking at the artwork that was around me through museums everywhere to understand what was inherently the message that the artist was intending for me to walk away with. Roughly a few months after I started the class, my mother had purchased and given my younger sister, a deck of tarot cards. And at the time, I'd never heard of them. And my sister was showing them off. She had Nancy Green's book, and she was the pro at the house at the time. And when I started looking at the images, I said, well, this would mean this to me. This would mean that to me. And I just locked into it. And I was just absolutely fascinated by the images and how, by doing the semiotic process, breaking those images to making them relevant to me and my experience and what could I walk away with, then I started to question, well, if someone else has done this, other people have made tarot decks, why couldn't I? And so initially when I started making tarot cards, they were just paintings, and I was exploring the semiotics, the iconography, the signs and symbols, what they inherently, that Pamela Coleman Smith had began, and interpreting them as slightly different into my way, which was the first one I developed was a Theban tarot back in 2006. After that, I was still within the modality of keeping it very much to what is normally done with like the world card. A lot of them have nudity on them and the star card, a nude. And at the time, my 6-year-old son came up to me. He's like, "Mom, why are you always drawing naked people?" And it made me stop for a minute. And I got to thinking about it. And my son was 6 and my daughter was 4. And they were both looking at me like, "Why are you drawing naked people all the time, Mom?" And so I got thinking about it. It's like, well, why are there naked people in the tarot? Why could it not be something else? And it was at that time I started breaking things down to what's called the red jester. And just looking at the very essence, could I evoke the same message, the same feel in just the body language, very few symbols? And sure enough, it worked. And that really started me testing the waters for, well, what else, what more could I have tarot become? Could I put humor into it? Because there are times in life and it is dark as it can get. How can I bring a little bit of laughter and a little bit of smile? Like, yeah, that really is going on in my life.
Yes.
And
some playfulness.
Yes, bring that playfulness back, because at some points in life, it gets way too serious, way too dark, and we got to have something to bring us back out. And if you notice, a lot of my decks are very colorful. They're very bright. And every once in a while, there'll be a card or two that really makes you go, what? It just kind of makes you stop for a second. But once you drop down into it, you realize, oh, she really is being very serious about it, but she's being a playful serious. She wants us to just take a breath. It's okay. And that's kind of the progress that I'm at now. And every time I have a new idea come across, I start almost seeing pictures in my head. And so it becomes almost like a race against time. And just like with meditating and journaling, the tarot cards are very much my journaling and my channeling of a message that I really feel that needs to be told. And so even in each of the decks, they all have their different nuances that brings into a different component of life. Some of it about relationships, other ones about self-growth, other ones about, hey, let's just reel it on back a little bit. Let's look at career, things of that nature.
It's amazing because so basically when you get an inspiration in life, or you're dealing with certain things in life, rather than journaling, you're gonna sit down and develop a tarot deck with that feel and essence.
Yes.
So that's fabulous. That's amazing. I love that perspective on your approach on why. So it's part of your healing process in the creation of that work. That's amazing. And where can we see these decks? Are they available for purchase, or can we see them? Are they on your website? Yes.
My website is bethseilonin.com, and it's my name completely spelled out, BETHSEILONEN. I also have an Etsy shop. And again, and also my publisher, Sheffer Publishing, who has the Dream Ravens, the Blue Cat, the Guardians, as well as the Tarot Leaves. And they have all the mass-produced publications. Meanwhile, I sell the limited editions.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. We're going to dive deeper into these decks of yours. Because I did see some pictures and I love the style, the simplicity, the colors, the playfulness, and would love to start working with some of these decks, especially with my kids. I have 2 boys, 7 and 5. And like you said, they always see me playing with, using the cards, and then they see these images sometimes and, naked people, and they get puzzled. But I have other types of decks that I make them use and play with, where I have more animals and more playful images, which they enjoy very much. Perfect. That's a great story. I love how you make use of tarot for yourself as a personal use. I mean, that's the whole principle, the whole purpose of why I put together the festival and the summit with Tiffany, is really to show the power that tarot has. It's truly a tool we can use for personal growth, for personal understanding, and spiritual growth as well, and reaching enlightenment. But most of all, is for personal well-being. So I love how you convey that in your own creation. That's fantastic. And perfect. So today we'll be talking. You'll give us a lesson on the art of actualization. So before we begin, just give us a quick for those who are not aware or don't know what the art of actualization is, give us a quick run up.
Okay. I'm going to backtrack just a little bit, just a couple of 2-3 years ago. I had an opportunity at my regular career is as an art educator, and they were looking for teachers to spearhead a program called Get Focused, Stay Focused. Well, embedded within the Get Focused, Stay Focused is Maslow's theory of hierarchy that goes through the pyramid of at the very basic needs that people have to their emotional needs, to their goals, and it works its own way all the way up to this triangle for actualization. Now, the moment of actualization is when you have all your foundations, your shelter, your food at a base level, and then you start working on your relationships and building your job and your security. And as you're going up, then you're able to get to the point in your life where you can achieve your goals and your dreams to make them happen. And what my job is working with freshmen is to help educate them and not just try, but to walk them through the process of how do you ensure that you have got these foundation building blocks, and how do you get to having these meaningful relationships to get to people that truly have your back, a mentor, all of these types of things. And what I noticed is when I was out I do ballroom dancing and Latin dancing and other teachers in other areas and all around the community, every time I started talking, they were like, oh my gosh. And suddenly I was doing all these lessons with them. And as soon as they saw the book, they're like, oh, is there any way that we could get a copy of this? And so I came up with the idea of how can I help people through tarot to bridge this, because I noticed that in one of my works, The Guardians, it really spoke to me and to other people about how to promote your self-growth. And that moment of self-growth of being aware of who you are, your personalities, do things need to change in your actions and how you treat others or how you treat yourself, to even be aware of it. And that way, by being aware of it, and then later on at the festival with you, I have a class that goes into developing goals and objectives and utilizing the tarot and going back to those semiotics to look at the icons, the symbology, what are the actions telling us to try to help us, to guide us to having self-actualization.
Amazing. Fantastic. All right. So now you have a presentation we'll be sharing. So if you look at the bottom right, you'll see the second to last icon, slide presentation. So Beth, you can click on that. And then once you click on the 3 dots, do you see that? You have access to that?
I see the 3 dots.
Yeah. And then you can select your presentation to share, the Art of Actualization.
Okay, start slide presentation. Oh,
that's right.
That's brilliant.
Yes. All right. And when you click share, then it'll begin your presentation. At the bottom, there you go.
Oh, that is really quite I've never seen this before. This is wonderful.
Amazing. All right. So I'll let you begin.
Okay. So the art of actualization, using the tarot to affect change, because ultimately I do want to have change happen for everyone. The purpose of today, we will be exploring the nuances of behavior as it affects self-awareness. This process, admittedly challenging and requires one to be ready for an open and honest dialogue. I cannot stress that enough to people. If you are sitting down with the tarot cards, it's our biases, because a lot of times we want to feel that everything's okay the way it is, when in reality, it really isn't. I cannot even begin to explain how many times I've looked at tarot cards and I'm like, oh yeah, this will be fine. And I try to manipulate what the cards are trying to tell me. Mm-hmm. And I'll call in a friend of mine, Marcia McCord, actually. And I was like, oh yeah, because just to bounce off ideas and different styles of reading. And she's like, no, because having a secondary person looking at something objectively, where there might be something that you really need to work on, but you're not ready to hear that truth, but somebody else can see and hear that truth. And so by being not only aware and honest with yourself, when you're sitting down and working with a querent or And you're able to have that open and honest discussion with them, even if it's hard and difficult. So just be aware, having that honesty, and you may end up with a lot of tears on your hands. And I've noticed that over the years as well with this type of process. Okay. For the person that I picked on for this, I didn't do a reading on myself. I picked on one of my coworkers.
But we can actually use this for ourselves, right?
Yes.
Just following your process very well.
Exactly. So this is totally usable for anybody. And I decided, instead of, focusing on myself and my growth, well, I was going to nose at one of my coworkers, just to kind of see, did he have any, skeletons in the closet that, you could kind of dredge out. I've been trying for 5 years now. Okay. So what are the 3 main components of my personality that affect and pick very specific. You could pick family relationships. You could pick love life, career, anything you want, okay? Because our personality within different aspects of our lives is going to manifest itself in different ways. Because as I tell students all the time, how I am at home is not how I am at school. It's not how I interact with people in my profession. Different components come into play. So for this one, I picked my coworker, we call him Coach, Coach's career. And so I drew 3 cards and I shuffled the deck and I placed them vertically for the one core piece of my personality, the second and the third. And personality of Coach, generally speaking, okay, the 4 of Wands RX. And when I first saw this, when I saw them in the reverse mode, I really do not like working with reversals. And so I made myself work with them anyways, because I was like, you know what? It really is trying to tell me directly how that personality is. And maybe the reverse isn't always going to be as bad as it, this uber perception that people have about it.
Just to clarify, when you write RX, that signifies reversed.
Reverse, upside down, yes.
Very good.
Yes. And so the 4 of Wands are RX, and I had to really kind of stop and think about this. Okay, so what does he do that has that type of personality of the card? And the 4 of Wands, very much about celebrations, good times. And he declines to accept celebrations of his accomplishments. And the next card, Empress, the fighter, the advocate for what is right for the students under his supervision. And finally, the King of Wands, he is the light of inspiration to get up and go. And so within each one of these cards, I really, as I'm laying them down, I'm not thinking about just I am thinking about the general feel of it, but also putting that person into that scenario within his career. So some of the cards might look more like lovey-dovey or something like that. I'm still going to say, what does it have to do with his career? Instead of trying to switch the reading around to love or to family life.
So no matter what the card element has, your main, let's say, guidance for the reading is exactly that. The work relation so you relate everything to that.
Yes. So the next we get into the pros and cons, because we all have them within our personality. That comes sometimes we are going to work great with one set of people, and the other time we might rub the other set of people the wrong way. We might be actually adverse to ourselves and work against ourselves. So this is where the pros and cons. So on either side of them, to the left, the pro, and to the right, the con of each of the personality nuances. This is where things start getting a little bit dicey, with people needing to be absolutely honest with themselves. Okay, the pros and cons. And when I saw all these reversals, these cards that were upside down, I just sat there and I just shook my head. I was like, what am I going to tell him tomorrow when I tell him what I did? And however...
Quick question on your take on reversals, because there's so many different personal interpretation of a reverse card. Would you usually use reversals as the reverse meaning of the card, or as, I would say, identifying a personal blockage with the querent, or do you take it some other way?
For this, as you'll see as we're working down through them, instead of looking at it as a blockage, I was thinking about what's the opposite positive in that reversal.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, and you'll see when it comes up, because once it hit on me, I was like, oh my word, then, this part of his personality is not something that this person is going to need to address if they choose. There's no issue. So, sometimes we are a-okay.
That's right.
And so at times the reverse is like, yeah, don't worry about it. And so that's how I had to approach this, because this has to do with personality. And yes, sometimes I would imagine, depending on what card comes up in reverse, that would be taken into account. However, for coaches, on his first one, we can see that the pros are the Ace of Swords upside down, and having the ability, knowing when to hold the tongue, to be humble, because as we know, swords is an air sign, is about speaking and action. And he's got the foresight, and that's a pro with him, when not to talk.
Exactly. So I see how you take that reversed as a positive opposite, which is, it's beautifully illustrated and beautifully explained.
Thank you. And the con, however, of this, because he doesn't accept the accolades that, people want to celebrate. He's just like, oh, no, I have nothing. Oh, no, they did it.
That's right.
The con, however, is that Coach reigns in his ability to strive for the flame of creativity. He stays passive. Okay. So with that wand, with a child, so he stays probably at times almost too humble with things. And so we get down to the next one, where we have the Empress as the core card that we're looking into with the pros and cons. The Three of Wands, Coach works to bring together the right energy to elicit what needs to happen. And the con of this, however, is that he can easily figure out what needs to be done. However, by doing so, will take away from the learning of others. Things are very easy. This would, to me, would signify, even though he has the tools, he can just hand them to people. But he also knows in his personality that maybe at times he could, hand them too many tools with his personality and want to make sure that they do well.
Yeah, instead of making them, sometimes you have to take the rough and the hard road in order to actually learn and really benefit from the lesson. So for sure, if he's just, sometimes just handing them the tools so they succeed without making sure they learn how to achieve it on their own. So for sure, that I see how that becomes a con.
So even though it's in the positive, you see.
That's right.
And finally, his last part of personality, focused on the King of Wands part of his personality at school, is that the Ace of Pentacles RX coach knows exactly where he needs to be. He doesn't need to look any further. He is not the type to go out and take over the world, not to manifest anything. That is his pro, is that he may have a lot of energy. He knows he can do the job, the inspiration, everything, but he knows that he is exactly where he needs to be within that energy.
I love, just to stay with the pros again, I love again how the Ace of Pentacles reversed gives us that pro aspect and that positive opposite, how you explained earlier. Because I never actually personally had this interpretation of a reverse card, but I'm seeing when you really focus down on the reading and keep within the same theme, how powerful, that reading. And what I always say is, in a reading, before jumping in a reading, whether for yourself or others, it's always what we portray of the reading before beginning the reading. So our train of thought, it's as if we have to put in place what's the standard for this reading, put that in place, accept it, and be conscious of it. And then it makes it so much more easier once the cards come out, that we have to remain in that, train of thought. Like you said before, Beth, if a lover's card comes out, don't drift into, okay, there's a lover situation happening, and no, you have to bring, how does that energy of the lovers would interpret within our standard that we put in place at the beginning of that reading.
Yes, exactly. And the final card is Seven of Swords reversed. Coach is at times very unaware of all that is going on, which gets him in in the end, gets him in the end every now and then. So if he's unaware of all the little nuances going on, then the con is that sometimes things might sideline him.
Might
However,
slip
because
away.
might slip away and he might lose control every once in a while. Okay.
Very good.
So pulling it all together by considering the nuances of Coach's personality in regards to his career. Coach is extremely humble at times, too much. By being aware of such, mayhap he be more willing to accept the accolades he so rightly has earned through his years of dedication as an educator and coach. He is an advocate for all students in working with them to believe in themselves and to train them. However, he may feel his faith in some over others. Finally, in his push to ignite those around him, he already knows his energy is exactly where it needs to be, but he has a weakness for ignoring some of those details that he really may want to pay attention. This is very much his own choice. He's very much in control of this. And yes, I did share that with him, and he stopped and he's like, "Oh, thank you so much."
So that was my question. What was his take on all this guidance and understanding?
He was pretty blown away by it. He really was. And I had to admit that overall, I was like, you're exactly where you need to be. You don't need to be, other than, pay attention to the little details going on around you so you don't
And maybe
miss something.
celebrate a little more with the the achievements of the students.
Right. And, because he's a phenomenal educator and someone that, I strive to be more like each day. And, so this way it was kind of like confirmation of everything I already knew about him, but then to put it back on him to make him aware of what an amazing job. And sometimes I think people need to hear that too.
Of course, definitely. We all need, at a certain time. We work hard, we're dedicated, we're ambitious, but sometimes we just need to take a step back and, let us sink in and take in. And most of the time we need someone to do it for us, to tell us, because, sometimes we're just so caught up what we want to do, where we want to go, and we don't take that time. So we need someone to just step in and this is what you've done, this is where you're headed, just to help us. And, it gives a lot of appreciation as well.
And finally, conclusions, what next? Now that Coach is aware of the pros and cons of his personality, he can begin to develop some goals and objectives to address, to grow if he chooses. This next component will be covered in the Love and Light Tarot Festival in Montreal. I hope to see you, everyone there.
Fantastic. So just as a quick glimpse, I would see the next step now. This sort of paints a portrait of where we're standing today with a certain personality aspect. So for sure, we'll be using tarot to see one of where we want to go, as an objective. So we draw a map, or, what's in line with our energy, what the tarot, and our guides, want to help us reach and accomplish. Sometimes we might not be listening, because they're always guiding us and speaking to us and bringing us opportunities, but sometimes we need to be aware of them. So that's in your interactive workshop at the festival, you'll be, it's an interactive workshop, so everyone should be bringing their tarot decks, and we'll be learning how now to draw, I would say, this path on reaching the art of actualization, accomplishing what we truly want to be, who we want to be, how we want to be, where we want to reach.
Yes, exactly.
Perfect. Fantastic. So that was really good. Very interesting. I love what you brought out on the reversed card reading. For me, it's a very new way of approaching these reversed cards. I love how we can single out, a specific personality. And again, we can apply that to any trait that we might have. So it's a very versatile spread, I would see. And then I love right away how we can see the pros and the cons. I'm not sure if anyone else out there, if you have any questions or, comments, how you perceive the reverse that Beth presents or the spread that she has. But I thought it was a great approach. And again, looking forward to the rest of this presentation at the festival. That's fantastic. Let's see with Juliet if do we have any questions that we can start diving into? You see, if I look at the chat, we have a lot of hellos from New York, Twickenham, London. Yes. Okay. So Cheryl was asking about the reminder link. I actually had a small issue this week. Tiffany's not. She's away on her retreat in Spain, so I took over the email reminders. So I apologize for that because for some reason my email system it doesn't send out the emails right away. I send them out at 7 a.m., but it's sort of how I would say, only sending out a couple of emails per half hour instead of sending them all at once. So I apologize if not everyone received the email for the reminder and the link. You'll definitely be receiving it. If you didn't receive it before 11 a.m. Eastern time, I think you'll receive it maybe in a couple of hours because for some reason my system is delaying the send out. So I'll make sure for next week that doesn't happen. I'll send out the emails earlier. Also, sorry, we apologize we had a couple of audio glitches, even on our side. Beth and I were only able to activate the audio, I think 2 minutes before the live session. So there was a small technical issues today, so we apologize for that. Let's see if there's anything else. So that's it. Thank you, Juliet, for posting Beth's website. So again, on her website, you'll see the links for her tarot decks and Lenormand decks, the self-published and the mass-produced decks as well. All right, so we have the first question from Harriet. I don't tend to read reverse cards. Can I just turn them up the right way?
Yes, because ultimately the cards are going to show you the pros and cons. It may take a little bit of nuance and everything, but they should still work just fine.
Perfect. And again, it also comes down to how you're shuffling your cards. Some will always shuffle them straight up, so they'll never get a reverse card. But my interpretation as well, sometimes, again, my intention before a reading is what's going to dominate the reading. So if, for example, I'm not intending to read reverse cards, if I'm while I'm shuffling, the cards do come up reverse, I'll just turn them right side up without an issue. So set your intention, and that's the most important aspect before you're doing your reading. And then make sure you're always remain in line with your intention as you're doing the reading. Like Beth said, if you're doing a specific reading on Coach, on his personality, and the lovers, let's say, card comes up, don't drift into there might be a lover's relationship coming up. Focus that energy within the intention of the reading. All right, so that was the Harriet's question on the reverse card. The next question from Elise. If there's time, I would love to hear more about this approach to reversals. I don't think I got it. So Beth, if you can just, let's take a step back and explain your aspect on reversals for the pros or the cons.
Okay, so when I'm working with reversals, and very honest with you, I really don't like them. I don't even like writing about reversals in my tarot books. However, when I took a step back during the Guardian book, I started looking at and the whole pros and cons of the card, and that maybe it's trying to tell me something a little bit different. It's not necessarily an absolute negative or a blockage. Sometimes it could be you might be doing something in excess, or something might be coming along that and as I mentioned about the opposite positive. So if I was looking Okay, my sound seems to be cutting out.
Yes, it did cut out. Now it just came back. So again, we apologize for this technical problem that we're having today.
Okay. As I was working through the Guardians, I didn't want to tell people like the doom and gloom within it, and it didn't feel like it had the doom and gloom energy to it. And so I started looking at okay, what would, instead of just being reversed, it might be more to the point or just the opposite of. And when it's put into the context of being a pro, being a good thing, during this reading in particular, it made me really, really, really stop and pull apart. Well, the ace in the Ace of Pentacles in reverse, yes, it's a blockage to manifestation, but what else would, what's the opposite of this? And maybe it just simply means it's being humble, being right where you need to be, that you don't need to go further.
You need more. That's it. You don't need more to start looking for more and accomplishing.
Right, because so many people, they see that negative as, oh, I can't manifest things. Well, maybe you can't manifest it because you have precisely what you need in the now. And this is the whole different concept of using reversals in this way is still in a it's very much an Ace of Pentacles moment for me. Instead of looking at the bad, the negative, reversals, it's horrible. Well, sometimes you're not meant to do things. What is the good point? What is the good side of that we need to explore? And I think that will probably be my next journey in tarot, is to, with the next deck that I'm working on, the Ravenous Dragon Tarot, is to explore that maybe some things are blocked from us, are not meant to happen, is actually a good thing for us.
Mm-hmm. Like the example you said of a coach holding his tongue. So sometimes the good thing about, I think it was the Ace of Swords reversed. Sometimes the positive aspect is that he knows when he should hold his tongue, and being in control of that is a powerful energy, where if you didn't have this understanding, this guidance of reversals, you might have taken it as a negative aspect. Ace of Swords reversed, not in control of your thoughts a bit, but very good. That's it.
And I hope I helped. And yes, it's a very new way of thinking about reversals. And it's one I've yet to put down into a book and solidify.
Very good.
That's my next goal.
So I think so many, I think I'm not the only one, but many of us struggle with reversals. So I think we're all going to be very looking forward to that book. And until then, again, set your intentions before your reading. And then always make sure you follow through with that intention and don't get sidetracked with, the card. So that's a powerful thing of what I do when I choose to read with reversals or not. I intend it beforehand. And also I like to intend what is the meaning of a reverse card if it comes up in this reading, so I know how to approach it as the cards come up. Another question from Joel. Regarding sometimes we aren't meant to do something, how can we be more discerning about it when we try to console ourselves?
This is one of those at the very beginning when I mentioned we have to be willing to be open and honest with ourselves, and to take that honesty and to pull ourselves away from that moment and to look at ourselves objectively. It's very difficult. It's hard. It's challenging. I'm not going to mince any words on that one.
But I think the winning aspect is always, being conscious of it and willing to start this process. So once you're at that step, you're already one step, ahead.
And one of the things that I also tell students when I'm working with them, I'm a high school educator, is that when we are trying to discern and learn more about ourselves, sometimes it's good to have a mentor. So yes, journaling that reading to yourself and everything, and then find someone who really knows you and that you really trust, and talk to them. This is what I know. I went and did a reading and, trying to work on myself and who I am and towards my personal goals. And this is what I noticed. And just have that candid conversation and be prepared. You might hear some things you don't want to know about yourself, and take it as food for thought, and that person truly cares about you and they want you to be your higher self. They want you to achieve that actualization.
Perfect. Wonderful. All right. Do we have any other questions? Oh, I think we have another question from Elise. About the positive opposite method, is it that the tarot is trying to say this particular aspect of yourself has reached maturity? You don't need to keep honing this. Is this kind of right?
Yep,
Perfect.
that's what I was seeing on the different times when I've been working with the pros and cons of personality, especially when it's in the pro and it's reversal. It's like, you're good. You don't need to keep going with this.
Hmm.
And so far, anyways, I haven't had any come up with the devil reversed yet. But we'll get there when we get there.
All right, fantastic. All right, we still have a time left if others have questions. If not, we can jump into the offers. Wait a few seconds here. Okay, so I think we could share the first offer, and if others have someone comes up with a question, we'll take it after. So the first offer we have, let me see here, is the 20% discount at the Light and Love Tower Reading Festival this September. You can click on the link. Once you click on the link, I will then share the second offer. I cannot share both offers at once. So you click on the link to make sure you save, it opens a tab on your browser. So that will give you not only access to the 20% discount on a general event pass, it'll also give you a replay. You can watch all the replays of all the sessions we've had with the summit, this webinar summit. I list all the videos on that link as well. So I'll be removing the offer in 3 seconds. So click it before it disappears in 3, 2, 1. All right, so I'll remove that offer. And next is the offer for Tiffany's retreat, including a diploma. Now, for Tiffany's retreat in Quebec, the week after my festival, there's one room left for the solo double occupancy room. And with that offer, you get a free pass to the festival. So it's a great offer. And let me see here. So it's a tarot retreat and diploma for her retreat in Quebec. So the retreat is up. Feel free to click it just to make sure it opens the link as a separate tab. And I will now remove the retreat in 3, 2, 1. So there goes the offer. If you didn't have a chance to click, let me know and I'll repost it. Oh, we have another question from Harriet. Can you use this for specific questions, i.e., not just a big topic like love relationships, but why do I keep attracting the wrong people? So I think, Harriet, are you referring to the full spread that Beth is presenting, or are you referring to the reversals that we were talking about? If you can just clarify. Beth, while we're waiting, I think if we would speak about the actual spread.
I can dive into this a bit. With this, you have now this would require you to be really super honest with yourself. And you may want to have a friend, again, having that mentor, that coach, that best friend that understands you, someone that you can talk to as you're working through this. Not that they have to be right in the room with you. When you are asking about attracting the wrong people, you're going to be wanting to investigate your own personality. Okay, what is it within you that is pulling this to you? And so just be very prepared that you're asking, to have that component of your personality that these people are attracted to and that you're drawing to you on display. And you just want to be ready to be very honest with yourself and don't sugarcoat things, because when you get to those pros, it's kind of like you're asking for the negative already within your personality. You're seeking out the negative. So why do I keep attracting the wrong people? And my question back to you would be, why would they be wrong?
Mm-hmm. It's true. That's a good point.
What makes them wrong for you to have in your life? Okay. I like to tend to put things in a more positive spin. What type of people are best for me to have in my life? And then build up the goals. How can I achieve that?
Mm-hmm. Very good approach for that.
yeah, it's a slippery slope because I used to ask questions like that of myself, and then I had to change my wording that I wanted a certain type of people in my life. What within my personality was preventing from the right type of people to be in my life, and then what did I need to change within me to get to having those people? It takes time, it takes honesty with oneself, and sure enough, it all comes to fruition. It all is actualized in the long run, but you're at the right start. You're asking those questions now.
Perfect. Okay, the next question from Elise. I missed the very beginning of the session. Where is Beth located?
Yes, I'm located in and around the San Francisco Bay Area, at the home of where the Bay Area Tarot Symposium was home to for 20 years, and it's locally called BATS, and it's not run anymore, sadly. But the core people are still here, and I'm having a ball in a little hub of tarot peoples.
Amazing. All right. Harriet replied, "Thank you. I completely get rewording the question." That's
Excellent.
perfect. Very well. All right. I think that concludes today's session. Beth, you have any last final words, conclusions, or you'd like to add and share?
I really hope everyone signs up, that they attend the Love and Light Tarot Festival, so that we can take these components of our personality that we're finding out, and then being able to be very specific in identifying if there's something that we want to change about ourselves, then to develop those goals and objectives, and giving ourselves a timeline. It's called SMART goals, for if you're not familiar with them, and to start guiding us into self-actualization and being who exactly we were always meant to be.
So thank you very much, Beth, for this great presentation. Thank you, Juliet, moderating the chat. Really appreciate it. And thank you, all of you, for watching this week's presentation. Hope you all have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Thank you very much.
Thanks.